Hello and welcome to the latest Millennial Money video. My name's Lauren and I work for an online personal finance website called Money to the Masses, and we cover a host of investing and personal finance topics over on our website moneytothemasses.com. We also have a host of social media channels, so our Facebook Money to the Masses, our Instagram at Money to the Masses, and our Twitter at Money to the Masses with the number 2. So in this week's Millennial Money video, I'm going to be talking about the pros and cons of credit cards. So a credit card is a way for you to borrow money. There are a range of credit cards, and I cover the different types of credit cards in my other Millennial Money video, which I will link to below this video. So typically, one of the most common types of credit card is a purchase credit card, and it can be used to borrow money to make large purchases. You also have the ability to potentially have a 0% purchase credit card, which means that you don't have to pay any interest for a set period of time. Now, how much you have to borrow on a credit card is typically down to your credit score. Generally, the better your credit score, the more you're allowed to borrow. So, what are the pros of a credit card? Some credit card providers allow you to borrow interest-free, so you can have a 0% purchase credit card or a 0% balance transfer credit card. Now, these lenders typically set a time frame of which the balance is interest-free, and then once you exceed this time frame, if the balance is still outstanding on the credit card, you will typically be charged an interest rate, which is agreed at the start of the application for the credit card. Another pro of a credit card is payments are generally quite flexible on when you can pay the credit card back. Now, there will be a minimum payment of how long you have to pay the credit card off. If you do want to make an extra payment on your credit card 1 month, you are usually freely able to do so. A credit card typically allows you to pay the amount in full without penalty. Now, this is usually the best way to manage a credit card debt, but obviously in most cases this is not always possible depending on the balance on the credit card. Another pro of having a credit card is the protection provided by the Section 75 of the Consumer Credit Act. Now, if you make a purchase with a credit card, which is between the value of £100 to £30,000, then the credit card provider is jointly liable for the purchase as the retailer that you've made the purchase from. So this is if something goes wrong, then you may be able to get a refund, get your money back, or get it investigated with your credit card provider. Now, if you would like any more information on Section 75 of the Consumer Credit Act, then do read our article, which we have linked to below this video. So what are the cons of owning a credit card? So when you set up a credit card, you are usually asked if you want to set up minimum repayments. Now, one of the cons of having a credit card is these minimum repayments are generally quite low, which means it can take a really long time to pay the credit card balance off. Now, Damien has done a brilliant video on how this all works, which I'll also link to below this video. Another con of having a credit card is some interest rates can typically be quite high, particularly if you have had a 0% balance or purchase credit card. Once the period has ended, you can go from not paying any interest to paying a large amount of interest. And if you have a particularly poor credit rating, then this can impact the amount of interest that you pay, and it can usually mean that the lower your credit rating, the higher the amount of interest you have to pay. Another con of having a credit card is there's usually no deadline of how long you have to pay the credit balance back. Now, obviously, as I said previously, if you have a 0% balance or purchase credit card, there will be a deadline on how long the 0% interest-free period runs for, but there is not usually a deadline of how long you have to pay back the entire balance. As long as you are being charged interest, the credit card company will continue to take minimum payments from you, and in some cases, if you don't clear the credit card, you could be paying a hefty amount in interest. So in most cases, if you haven't cleared the credit card balance but by the time the 0% interest period ends, or if you are using a credit card that doesn't have a 0% interest period, then you will be being charged interest on the balance on the card. And obviously, if you are only paying the minimum amount back, that can take a really long time for you to clear. Another con of having a credit card is that the credit limits on a card can vary greatly, and the majority of the time they do vary depending on your credit score. Now, there is no one set credit score, and the credit score you have does depend on the Consumer Credit Reference Agency. Now, each agency has a different way and a different set of criteria on setting your score, and it all goes down to what is on your credit report. But lenders do look at your credit report to determine the level of risk of lending you any money. If you did want to check your credit score, you can do so using credit reference agencies such as TransUnion, Equifax and Experian. And we have a host of articles on how to do this over on the Money to the Masses website, moneytothemasses.com. So that's it today. It was just a quick overview on the pros and cons of a credit card. If you do have any questions, then email me, lauren@moneytothemasses.com. If not, thanks for watching.